Bruce Delling of Southern California Edison and the Go Solar program. Bruce, thank you for your time today. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you're trying to achieve with the Go Solar project?
Yes, nice meeting you, Ida Rose.
Nice meeting you too.
I work in the California Solar Initiative. There are 3 program administrators through the state. It is a ratepayer-funded program, and basically it provides incentives to residential and commercial customers who want solar at their site. The majority, over 95% of our applications, are residential, smaller projects, small, say 4 to 7 kilowatt systems, with commercial projects being larger. System sizes range between 1 kilowatt, 1,000 watt system, up to 1 megawatt. That will be incentivized on a per watt basis. So there is a process, an application process, and we have a paperless application process. It's done through the statewide database called Power Clerk. Power Clerk. And basically all this information can be found at the Go Solar California website, which is gosolarca.gov. And basically on that website you can find out all the information about going through the steps of application. It's a very detailed process because if you think about it, it's ratepayer funds, and we are tasked with the exact distribution of those funds to those who are entitled to it. So it's a detailed application process that gets submitted through Power Clerk. It's reviewed. Once it's approved, then you can build your project, and you have up to 12 months on a residential system to build the project. Once it's installed, you also have to apply for interconnection to the grid. There's an interconnection process in PG&E. It's a little different in Southern California Edison territory, and it's a little different in SDG&E territory. But nevertheless, to get permission to operate, you have to have an interconnection agreement with the utility, with your serving utility. That application process is in parallel to your CSI application. Okay, but it is a separate process. I want to clarify that. Again, details are needed about a single line diagram is needed to show how the generation operates. And so once you have your system installed and the local building and safety has signed off on that, then you get your permission to operate through the interconnection, and then you submit what's called an incentive claim form. It's the second step of a 2-step process for a residential system. Now, what the incentive claim form does is it tells us what was installed exactly, down to the panels and the inverter, and then it also gives us a chance to review, and if we need to inspect it, we will come inspect it. But once you have the interconnection and everything is in line, then you will receive your incentive, which will help you buy down. So it goes to the consumer, or it can be assigned to a third party, to a contractor.
But in the meantime, the consumer pays all upfront costs if there are any.
That's correct.
Okay.
And that's done through a standard California business construction contract. You know, you pay a certain amount down, and then there's progress payments. Okay. And we also ask for copies of that. We want copies of everything related to the project for our project files.
Oh, that seems fair.
Because the PUC is going to come back and look at us and say, we'd like to see the file for Mr. Jones at this address, and we have to deliver an intact file to them.
Does the PUC regulate how many systems you should be installing per year, or how are you, the consumers put on the grid, or is there a minimum impact?
So the PUC doesn't tell us system size. That's going to be driven by the customer. The system size is going to be predicated by their previous 12 months usage. They cannot build a system size that's going to be bigger than what they've used the previous 12 months, because the intent of the program is to offset site load. Okay, it's not to create a lot of little generators. It's to help the state utilities avoid having to build new generation or a new power plant, which we know would be pretty tough to do. So what this does is it just takes care of the site load at the residence or the business first.
It's a very important distinction.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people get confused about that because they think, oh, gee, I'll build a system, huge. Now, there will be instances where customers do overgenerate. There's an assembly bill called AB 920 that does provide for the utilities to compensate the customer through a bill credit or a payment back to them. And that rate is actually it's imminent to be decided on what that rate's going to be as far as the payment back to the customer.
Interesting. Now, you mentioned a pretty lengthy approval or complicated approval process. What kind of criteria do your customers have to meet to get the incentives?
There's a number of criteria. They have to be a customer of the utility. If it's a commercial customer, they can't be on any demand reduction programs or other types of programs. But basically, you just have to be a regular, an active customer.
So there's no economic income checks or...
Good question. What I will say is the CSI program has a general market program, but they also have programs for low-income multifamily and single-family homes, income qualified. They do have portions of the program, and also for solar thermal, solar hot water heating. There is a portion of the program. I'm glad you brought that up. I almost forgot to tell you about that in the whole scheme of things, but yes.
So what percentage of the low-income household cost would be covered typically for a system?
Their incentive rates are higher because they're income qualified. Every system's different, so it's hard to say. I'll say an average system is about 4 kW. It's going to be that's rough cost is going to be about $30,000, and the incentive is going to cover maybe 10 to 20% of that cost. I don't want to cite specific numbers because every system is unique, is what I've found.
Okay, and what about the low-income program? Would a larger percent get covered?
The incentive is higher. There's a smaller part of the budget for that customer class.
If one of my readers wishes to apply for the program, what would you say the likelihood of their application being accepted would be?
As long as they fill in, literally, cross the T's, dot the I's, get the right, sign it in the right places, and get all the information required. And again, that's all that is available at Go Solar California. GoSolarCalifornia.ca.gov. And also the program administrators, PG&E, SCE, and CCSE in the South, it's all available on their websites too.
And typically how long does the approval process take?
The cycle time, well, let me just talk, the whole cycle time is typically around 90 to 120 days.
Okay, that seems
because
fair.
If you think about it, we're allowing customers to interconnect to the grid, and we have to be very safe.
Right.
We want to make sure that the system is correct, and we got to make sure that it shuts down at the correct times should there be any problems. But yeah, it's about a 90 to 120 days.
So really no more than 4 months.
On average, yes.
Great.
Yes.
Good. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time.